Hello and welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name is Jason Newland with my early morning croaky voice. I was born under a wandering star. See, it gets deeper. I feel like my voice is broken eventually. Most of my adult life, I mean, hello everybody, and now, well, how high can I go? Maybe not as high as I once could. Anyway, I don't normally do these recordings quite so early. It is 18 minutes past 8 a.m. At this point, I don't know what sound. I'm going to use the word sound is going to be coming from downstairs because they're still in the process of having the bathroom done. Today, they're having the floor put in of the bathroom, so I don't quite know what that entails. I'm guessing it entails flooring, but I don't know if it entails machinery making noise. If it does, then I'll have to kind of put a hold on this recording if it's too noisy. Blimey. Because the bathroom's been turned into a wet room, I guess it's a different type of flooring that would normally be in a bathroom. I'm guessing. Because there also has to be a drain in there, doesn't there? I suppose, baths have drains as well, don't they? But like a different kind of drain for the water to go down. Yeah. So, anyway, this is Q&A Friday. It is. The 9th of May, 2025. And please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. What else? So, my website's really groovy. And it's all my recordings are on there. All the latest recordings are on there. I'm continuously adding new stuff just to try and help people out. So the first page of jasonnewland.com, there's at the very top of the page there is like a carousel where you can skip across, which lists like as an image of all the different podcasts. And below that is the very latest recordings that I've done, where you can stream or you can actually download to your phone or whatever device you are using. And you can save that for later or forever. You can also stream at a different speed, and you can also skip forward. So you can skip forward 30 seconds, jump forward 30 seconds, or you can rewind 10 seconds. And you can fast forward. You can go 2 times faster, 1 times faster but you can also go 0.75x. So that would be probably, is that 25% slower than normal? So if I'm talking way too fast for you, then you can slow it down a bit. Also on each recording, it tells you how long the recording is. Also tells you the size of the recording if you was to download it. So for example, yesterday's Let Me Bore You to Sleep was that's weird. Okay, Yesterday's Let Me Bore You to Sleep, my hypnosis start. So LMBYTS number 1348, 42.56 megabytes, and it was an hour and 32 minutes and 59 seconds. But if you was to download the 10-hour version with music, it's 9 hours 49 minutes 17 seconds and 269 megabytes. So yes, it's a bit bigger megabytes. Still not a lot, to be fair, for 10 hours, but 137.31 megabytes is pretty small. It's not a lot of space, really. I could get them smaller, but I'm trying to, I want to keep the quality of the audio. None of my recordings will come above 300 megabytes individually, because basically Spreaker, who I use, doesn't allow that. So 300 is the maximum I can put, and 10 hours is also the maximum. So I fit it under 300 megabytes, and because that's the size of the file. That's how much. So if you was to download it onto your computer or onto your phone, that's how much space it would take in your memory. Okay. I actually find on the phone using a website it's a lot easier. So if I listen to a recording of mine, I listen on the phone. I listen on the phone, but I go onto the website rather. It's just easier because it's there. The latest recording's there, and just play. I don't know, just me. I just find it. I find it easier. Also, in the index, you got home, which is just the standard, main page. Then we've got a link for podcasts, which lists all the podcasts which you can click on. It takes you to a podcast, which is embedded in the website. Again, you can stream or play, download, whatever. And then you've got playlists that again lists all, each individual podcast. You can click on it, and then you've got a choice of choosing which ones you want to listen to. So I do them in groups of 50. So 1 to 50, 51 to 100, 101 to 150, like that. And you've also, again, you can stream and play and download those ones if you want. I've got a contact form. There's a link to my Facebook group, which is Jason Newland's Boring Group. So that's pretty groovy. Right, okay. My website seems to have... Okay, back to it. So Facebook, Jason Newland's Boring Group. So there's a link to that. There's a link to my YouTube channel, which is at Jason Newland. And I've got, according to this, 1.55 thousand subscribers. So 1,500 subscribers, 2,500 videos, which is quite a lot, isn't it? It's now my podcast, so all the latest recordings are run there. Let's come back out of there. There's a link to my PayPal, and there's just come out of the website. What on earth am I doing? Then you got LMBYTS, so Let Me Bore You to Sleep. Click on that, and that takes you to that podcast, which is embedded in the website. Then you've got a reviews, which just listens to the I haven't had any reviews since the 6th of April. So if you've got any reviews, please leave me a review. Then I've got a link for podcast apps. So you can click on Apple Podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, Podcast app, Castbox, Deezer, Luminary, Podcast Republic, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Podcast Index, Podchaser, Podfriend, Podverse, Podbean, Spreaker, and Spotify. Spotify should be at the top, really. We're near with Amazon, but anyway, you click on any of them. So I'm click on Spotify, for example, and all my podcasts are listed with a link to the Spotify podcast. for that particular podcast. Which brings me to something, where is it? I did have a question on my Facebook group from Megan, I do believe. Megan, where are you? Megan. There hasn't been any uploads on Spotify since 1st of May. Will you be adding any new ones on there still? So I've added a link. I think what it is what it is, I think that the thing was connected to the SoundCloud, because I had 2 Let Me Bore You to Sleep podcasts. One was on SoundCloud, one's on Spreaker. The reason I didn't get rid of the SoundCloud one is because I'd had it for a while and I was getting traffic on there, and I think Spotify kind of had both. So I got rid of the SoundCloud one. I got rid of both of my SoundCloud accounts. I was able to, people told me that they wanted them back, so I was able to get back the main one, but the other one I can't get back. So it's just a case of going to a different link, that's all. So I definitely am on Spotify. If you the Let Me Bore You to Sleep, but every single podcast I've got is on Spotify. So I posted the link. What I'll do, maybe post the link again. If you go to my actual website, so Megan, I did reply. I said, here's a link to my podcasts on Spotify. They seem to be up to date now. I hope this helps. And it's basically jasonnewland.com/Spotify. And Megan says, how bizarre. When I click this link, they are there. But when I go via Spotify, there's nothing since May the 1st. How strange. Maybe it's sort itself out eventually. Thank you. I'll go via this link. So what I would say is just use the link. Save the podcast on that one, because I think there might be 2 different podcasts on Spotify for the Let Me Bore You to Sleep. And that's something I can't, unfortunately, undo, because it is, it's just the way it's kind of worked out, really, unfortunately. But you can, what I've done is I've added the main thing. So you got podcast apps, Q&A Friday, so that links to the at the top of that there's Ask Me Anything Q&A Friday submission, if you've got any questions. And underneath that box there's all the latest Q&A Friday recordings. So the last one was last Friday, 2nd of May. Then we've got requested recordings. Again, all the latest requested recordings are on there. The last one was April the 17th. But above that, I do have a little form you can fill in if you want to request something. Then the next thing in the index is Deep Sleep Whisper Hypnosis. So that's another link to that, because people say that some people are struggling to find that online. So that's the main website for there. Then I got one for SoundCloud. So I managed to get the SoundCloud reinstated for the main SoundCloud podcast. So that's now, there's a link there for that in the index, that is. And next to that is Apple Podcasts. So that's all the podcasts I've got on there with the links directly to Apple Podcasts. The only one I don't have out of all of the podcasts that are on Q&A, that are on there, is Q&A Friday. So there's no Q&A Friday on Apple Podcasts at the moment that I can find. And lastly, Spotify. So I've added that to the index yesterday. I've checked every single link, so every podcast I've got is on Spotify directly. So yeah, I hope that helps. I don't know if it do, but I hope it do. So that's what I've done. I've been trying to update the information. It's quite weird because SoundCloud said, oh, they reinstated the main podcast, but then I'd have to send a request from the email connected to the other podcast. Did that and it wouldn't work. Like, it just, it's weird. It's very strange, so I can't get that one back. But I got the main one back. But it's just going to a different link. That's all it is. It's, I mean, what I'll do, wait a minute, I'm going to just check this for you, because it has bugged me a little bit that I don't like the idea that people are struggling to find stuff, if you know what I mean. I want, it's just supposed to, the whole point of what I'm doing is to kind of relieve stress and tension, not to increase it. So I'm not here to cause problems. I want things to be easy. So what I'm going to do, let me just have a look, see, let me bore you to sleep. So let me check, let me bore you to sleep, podcasts and shows. So I'm clicking on this, podcasts and shows, let me bore you to sleep. Actually, there's more than two, because I've got ones from years ago. So let's have a look. So the podcast on here for the Let Me Bore You to Sleep. So there's 1, 2, sure I saw another one, yeah, 3, right, 3 that I can see. There might be others, but see the third one, it's a really old image. It was Let Me Bore You to Sleep. That was the name of it. So I'll click on that. And the last recording I uploaded was the 1st of June 2018. So it was Let Me Bore You to Sleep number 25. I don't know where I was recording that, but I wonder if it still plays. Wow.
Hello. Welcome to JasonNewland.com.
It still plays. Can you believe that? What's that? 7 years ago? So yeah, that still plays. I think that's where the problem lies, is with Spotify, even podcasts that are no longer available, they are available on Spotify because they download I think they actually must download the actual episodes themselves on their own servers. So that one's not valid. And not the other one, which is, it's exactly the same cover as the, so some people have been listening to the Let Me Bore You to Sleep, the one that isn't, there's just been two. I don't quite know how I ended up doing that, but I did. One on the cover's got Let Me Bore You to Sleep, and it's got music. So a picture of Vinny with headphones, music, black and yellow outline, and then no ads on there. So that one, I think that was the one that was on SoundCloud. Let me just check. Yeah, so the last one was the 1st of May, which ironically, music, no music, no music. Does it still play? Still plays. But that one's now gone. I don't know how far back. I don't know how far back that will go. Vinny, don't be barking, please, mate. No, I said don't be barking, not please bark more. There's a difference between those two sentences. Blimey. Right. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Oh, I found another one. Oh no, I've got a lot of podcasts on Spotify that are no longer available, which is a bit annoying because it muddles things up. So the Let Me Bore You to Sleep, which has on the image, on the actual main image, music and no ads, that was the one I had on SoundCloud, and unfortunately I've lost that. I just can't seem to get it back. So of course you can listen to old recordings on there. I mean, I don't know how many are on there, but quite a few. But all new recordings will be on the new link, which if I go back, I can find that on Spotify. It's here. Let Me Bore You to Sleep. It's exactly the same image. It's exactly the same name. So there's no difference in the names either. There's not, but this one has got the latest one, My Hypnosis Start, which was last night. So yeah, that's got all the latest recordings. That's the one to follow. That's the one, the link. That's the one that's on my website with a link to it. And that's the one with the updated recordings. So sorry about the confusion. Yeah, it's just one of those things, But I understand it can be frustrating, so it's now hopefully sorted. I've had a few people actually contact me about the SoundCloud, I've had people contact me about the SoundCloud. Then I've had a couple of people contact me about the Spotify. I guess because when you're on Spotify, you don't know where it's come from, and I think some people might think it's actually that the podcasts are uploaded to Spotify, and that's the host, which it can be. You can host on Spotify, but the main place, usually they just take the RSS feeds, which is the same as most other podcast apps. So I'll give you an example of what I do. So for the Let Me Bore You to Sleep podcast, so I'll click on this, and so let's have a look. There's 867 listenable episodes. Like I like to do, I deleted loads of episodes. It was more in a sense of trying to change, because I was making the 50 sections, like 1 to 50, 51 to 100 and all that. And I was trying to cut down the amount of space I was using, because Spreakers, who is my host, is possibly likely to start charging me more. They already have, so now it's like 50 odd quid a month instead of being 22. So I was trying to kind of cut down the expense a little bit, but it's fine. There's still, all the recordings are still saved. But if I look at the actual information, so you got Let Me Bore You to Sleep, you got podcast settings, so Let Me Bore You to Sleep. What I might do, if I just change it to, if I change it to Let Me Bore You to Sleep - Jason Newland, maybe that'll make it a little bit easier to find on Spotify. I don't know how long it will take for it to change on the Spotify server though. Let's have a look. Vinny's proper moaning today. He was a bit ill earlier. He was ill, like. So I don't know. So I've changed it to Let Me Bore You to Sleep, Jason Newland. Even though Jason Newland is on there anyway, at the bottom. So what I can do is, once I've made a podcast on Spreaker, which is my main podcast host, I go to the settings which says RSS settings. I'm not 100% sure what RSS stands for. I used to know it, but I don't care. What it means is basically, it's a feed. So you give it to a podcast app, for example, Castbox or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and what it does then is it syncs with that podcast whenever something new is added. And it also gives me an opportunity for social sharing. No, that's weird. Distribution. Oh yeah, that's the one. So your podcast has been added to Spreaker, and then it's been added to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Heart Radio, Amazon Music, Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and Geo7. Well, I was just rudely interrupted. Not really rudely, but I was interrupted by a phone call from my doctor's surgery. And it was, I forgot it was today. They were doing a medication review. So that was 8:45 until 9:10. 25 minutes. I got the sense that he was very tired at the end of it. I don't know, I think I might have bored him. Oh. Anyway. I contacted... Oh, what am I doing? Right, I should really do the old questions, shouldn't I? So here we go. Let's have a look at the questions. Sorry, I never seem to get around to just doing the questions. Anonymous member, Oshini. Jason, I enjoy your LMBYTS so much all the way from South Africa. I listen via Spotify and haven't seen any new uploads. You know, you can join the Jason Newland's Boring Group. If you're on here, you could join if you want. So I'm guessing your name's Ashini. So I don't know if you've covered this. What I'm going to do, because I've just kind of covered this subject, I will copy the link and I'll post it there now. So hopefully you can, go there. So if I comment, here we go. Really? That's weird. That's not what I was supposed to be doing. Jason Newland, Spotify. Okay, so if I just go, hi, here is the new link to the Spotify, to the podcast. Right. In fact, no, wait a minute. Let me go back. Jason Newland, Spotify, Let Me Bore You to Sleep. So I'll click on that link. That's the one. So here's the link. Here's the new link to the podcast. So hopefully that'll do the job. Okay, Spotify let me bore you to sleep, so that's done. Sorry about that hassle, and So hey, any questions for this week's Q&A for I-Day? I-Day. Let's have a look. All comments. I've got 5. Hope asks me which. That was a bit whistly, wasn't it? Hope asks me which platform should we listen to in order to give you the most support. I don't know really. I mean, all of the podcast hosts are basically coming from Spreaker. So Spreaker generally provides the so if you listen on Spotify or if you listen on Apple Podcasts or any of the others, generally you're listening to Spreaker podcasts. So that's the home. And the same as if you listen on my website, it's still from Spreaker. And I like it when people listen on my website, because I suppose it's just because I'm paying for a website and I want it to be used. That's kind of it. It doesn't really matter. But it's, when I look at the stats on Spreaker and I see that my website's being used, it's quite nice, because it tells me how many. If I look at the sources, so let's say yesterday, for example, so 1,625 downloads came from Apple Podcasts, 123 downloads from Podcast Addict, 78 from Overcast, 36 from jasonnewland.com. So it was an overall 1,986 downloads yesterday. So as you can see, it's broken up into 1,986. It's broken up into quite a few. So 1,625, 8, 9. Blimey. So yeah, it's broken up into lots of different podcasts in order to make up that amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's 20 different places that is made up of on Spreaker, that it's the link that they're using. I realise some of this might sound a bit like goggly blog, but I know what I mean. If that helps. See, Spotify, 16 downloads on Spotify from all my podcasts. So I find that kind of strange, really, bearing in mind that Spotify is supposed to be the most, well, the biggest, I guess, competitor for Apple Podcasts. Yet I get hardly any views on Spotify, unless I just download them and I don't get to see. Perhaps I'm not quite sure how it works out. Maybe they keep their stats to themselves. I don't know. But if I look at, and you can't blame me for looking at the stats, because I was asked to look at the stats literally just now. I had an excuse. So this year, let's say this year, custom, let's have a look what we've got. This year, January, so 175,000 downloads since January on this podcast on Spreaker. 153,644 on Apple Podcast. Overcast 3,542. Podcast Addict 2,934. I'm number 4 on the list. JasonNewland.com 2,646. So that's how many people, well, that's how many downloads there have been, whether people have played or downloaded. Where is Spotify? It's way down at just 1,109 for the whole year so far. It's kind of weird. But then Spreaker is way down as well, 561. So that's like direct. I mean, they're all from Spreaker. That's the weird thing. But like people directly going onto Spreaker. So really the answer to your question, Hope, is wherever you want. Just listen wherever is comfortable for you. I mean, really the job is for me to support you. So I do appreciate that you're looking to give me support. But, you know, my job is to support you. This is what I'm sort of doing here. You know, really, just wherever you want to listen. Where's it best for you? For me, the best place to listen is on my website. For me, because it's just, I find it easier than logging and, you know, going into a podcast. Because, you know, I use Apple. What do I use? Apple Music. So I can search for myself. Where am I? I have to go in and look for stuff. So even if I want to listen to music, I go into the library. But so if I go in, put in my name, Jason Derulo always comes up top, and then Jason Mraz, then Jason Isbell, Jason Donovan, Jason Aldean, I mean, what about me? Let's have a look. Jason Newland, artist, top results. Click on this. What's coming up? Nothing. So Apple Music, for some reason, doesn't seem to have me on there. But I'm definitely on Apple Podcasts. That's strange. So if I look, let me bore you to Apple Music. So is Apple Podcasts a different app then? Let me bore you to sleep. Let me bore you to slurp. Okay, that's not the right. And you've got OU to sleep. Albums, songs, playlists. Enough. That's very weird. Podcasts, albums. So Apple Podcasts, I must have a separate. So let's have a look. Maybe it's got a separate thing. Just shows you how often I listen to a podcast. Apple Podcasts. Yep, I do have Apple Podcasts. I got the app. It's just, it's just a different app. I listen to Apple Music. Let me bore you to sleep. Okay. So Jason. If I put in boring, I wonder what will come up. Boring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4. Nope, not me. I'm not coming up. Channels. Nope. If I put bored, shows, not even coming up. I mean, bored is literally in the title, but nope, not coming up. Or even just they're not showing. I know I'm on there, but they're just not showing me. I don't know what I have to do to get, So if I put in sleep, let's have a look. See if, so I'm using my phone here. So Apple Podcasts, look for sleep. So shows. Nope, I'm not on here either. They're not listing me. I wonder if I've been blacklisted for some reason. Yeah, I'm not on. I mean, I'm definitely on the platform, because if I put in my name, so the chances of you accidentally coming over me is going to be very rare, because Spotify's kind of hidden me. But if you put my name in, you got top results. But that goes for individual recordings. So go for shows. Let Me Bore You to Sleep's at the top. Then Monday's Sleepy Boring Objects, Stress and Pain Relief, Relaxation for Stress and Panic Attacks, Stop Smoking Hypnosis, Jason's Bedtime Story Time, Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply, Chronic Pain Hypnosis, Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply, Let Me Bore You to Sleep. So there's another one there. Wow. There's about 16 Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply. So I've got no idea. Latest recording. So Let Me Bore You to Sleep. That one works. Let me go down to the other Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My Hypnosis Start. It's basically just showing the same podcast. See if it's got any. Right, that's all of it. So Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply, My Hypnosis Start. That's the latest recording. What's this one? Yeah, my hip. So it's just showing the same thing. So yeah, it's a little bit weird, isn't it? Relaxation for panic. Okay, that's good. So I personally just use my website. I do use Apple Music, but I don't really. I mean, I go through periods. Sometimes, at the moment, because I'm really into chronic pain relief and stuff like that, so I listen to lectures on YouTube, because YouTube's such a good resource for stuff like that, for educational material. So I'll be listening to the experts, pain experts, doctors and scientists. And the podcasts are good as well, but I just find I quite like listening to like university lectures and things like that at the moment. So yeah, thanks for supporting me wherever you want to listen, as long as you're happy and as long as it's helping. That's all that really matters. Ali asked me, what are some things that make you happy right now? Boobies. No, I don't know. What makes me happy? That was too loud and that was too late in the recording to be doing that. I do apologise. I'll try and reduce the sound or delete it or edit it. I don't know. I don't really know what does make me happy. I like it when I'm productive. I like it when I feel, if I focus on how I feel, like feeling better, I feel more better when I feel like I've achieved something. So if the stats are okay, providing I get at least a couple of thousand downloads a day, I'm all right with that. I'd like it to be more, but it's definitely in the right area. Sort of heading up again. I like making. I feel that the idea of helping people is pretty much the only thing that makes me happy, really. I don't know if I am helping. I mean, I think I am, but this is what I do. This is my life, There isn't really much else going on. But little things, I do like to, I like to watch comedy and I quite like sleeping. I don't know really. Just doing this. This is the only thing. This is what I live for. This is my life. Has been for a long time, and this is the only stable thing that I have. And without this, it's really sad, but I don't really have much. So I don't mean just doing these recordings, but the other stuff I do, the pain stuff and things like that. So I think there's a boxing. Of course, I forgot about boxing. Sometimes it's the looking forward to the boxing rather than the actual watching of it. But sometimes the watching of it is just, occasionally there's just an amazing event. Michelle asks, you used to talk about doing exercises. Do you still do them? Are you asking me if I put my weight back on? Is that what you're asking me? Are you basically asking me how big my belly is now? Is it? I am. Actually, I had a workout on my punch bag yesterday. Felt lovely. I love punching. Just on a punch bag only. I just love it. It's just so... The physical movement. It stretches my back. It doesn't affect my lower back, which is weird, because that's the part that I had problems with. But punching doesn't seem to negatively affect my back at all. My lower back. But if anything, it stretches my upper back. And it's nice, feels nice. I still do weights. I've lacked. I've gone down a little bit with that. I was doing them really regular. Haven't been doing them so regular. I mean, when I'm not in the best space to do anything, then they seem to be something that drops off. But it's just one of those things. But I'm kind of getting back into it a bit. I do feel better in my back, my lower back, when I do the stretches. When I do it's squats really, so it's kind of stretches and weights as well. But I'm still doing it. I mean, I'd like to... It's about motivation, really. I think if I had a bit more space and like a proper gym to work out in, that'd be nice. And a punch bag that I could use anytime, because I've got neighbours downstairs. I know it's going to shake the hell out of their ceiling whenever I'm using a punch bag. So I don't want to disturb them. But if I could use a punch bag for like an hour a day, because I like to do things continuous, so I'll punch it for an hour continuously. Not hard continuously, but I will keep going. I will keep that movement going for the whole time. And at the end of it, I feel good. Very sweaty, but I feel, quite good. Like I've had because it's not just physical Well, it's not just like strength or stretching. The movement's good as well, but it's also cardiovascular, because you do anything, any kind of physical movement for a long period of time, it turns into cardiovascular, doesn't it? It turns into working the lungs and the heart, because you don't have to run to get that. You can use your hands to get that as well. I mean, to ask anyone that's in a wheelchair. You know, you can. I had a friend. He was in a wheelchair from the age of about 19. I met him when he was in his 40s, probably. He was a coach for the Olympic team for basketball, for disabled basketball players. So he was at the disabled. What is it called? The Olympics? Is it Disabled Olympics? I can't remember what it's called. But he was like the British coach, one of the British coaches for the basketball team. Now, what was really weird about him is, I remember seeing that he was like 6'2", because he'd always been like my chest height. It's like, you're like 6'2". It's just I couldn't get my head around, because I'd never known him outside of being in a wheelchair. It's like, and what an amazing person, honestly, to be able to, you know, such a good attitude towards life. I saw him without his top on once. I think he just had like a t-shirt on, but you know, one of those sporty t-shirts where basically it just kind of covers your neck and your chest and that. Built like a horse. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? When you're talking about someone. I saw him the other day with very few clothes on. He's built like a horse. No, I'm honestly so muscular. His arms, his shoulders, his chest, his back. Because he was exercising. I mean, this is 20 years ago. But, like, so strong. And, you know, if you do enough press-ups or pull-ups, that's going to work your cardiovascular system just as much as running would. So there. That's what I think. I might be talking rubbish, but that wouldn't be the first time. Alright, this is a question I got from Teresa, but I've added it onto this because this is, I don't know where that, can't remember where that was posted. Q&A question. Hello, sweet juicy JJ. Thank you, Teresa. At least someone knows what my real name is. Thank you. I'm so confused when you're talking. Oh, blimey, I nearly burped. I'm so confused when. That's a weird time to yawn. I'm so confused when you're talking about money. I hear you say quids, pounds, stones, and other things, but I can't remember them all. What are the differences of those things? Can you break it down for us? In America, we have dollars and cents. Love tea, and we laughed. Oh yes. So this is for tea. I think the stones, that's talking about weight. So that's when I talk about how heavy I am. See, when I was young, rather, we always used to have foot and stones. So you'd have feet. It wouldn't be inches or centimeters. It'd be feet. So 5'8", which is what I am. Well, 5'9", 6'3". So I'm 6'3", let's say. That's my height, which isn't my height. But if you start saying how many inches or how many centimeters or how many meters, meters, I don't know what that is. And I think it's used in probably a lot of different parts of the world. they use meters instead of feet. I don't know. If you say someone's like 20 meters high, I don't know what that is. Thinking about it, it might be a giant, but I don't know. With stone, that's the weight. So I was a few years ago, I was ranging between 98 kilos and 102 kilos. So that was kind of my weight range. I was kind of moving in between those two. And so I was definitely on the cusp of above 100 kilos for quite a few years. I managed to get it down, but that's roughly about 16 stone. So I'm now below 15 stone. So I've lost some weight, lost some fat. I might have just lost muscle and just kept fat, because I don't know, it's hard to tell. Because sometimes I stand in front of the mirror and I hear screaming. I'm thinking, am I screaming inside my head? And I realise it's the mirror. The mirror can't stand it. So I don't know if that's an issue. I'm so with money. So that's stones and pounds. Is it stones? There's 14 pounds in a stone. Okay. I think it's 2.2 kilos in a... I don't know. Oh man. 2.2 pounds in a kilo. No, that wouldn't make sense. 2.2 kilos in a pound. 2.2. It's a little bit like driving. So we have miles an hour. I mean you might have that as well, but I think it's more kilometers per hour, I think, in America. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the cars used to have both. But with us, it was always how many miles an hour you're doing. Kilometers an hour, never, ever used. Not in my lifetime, not with anyone I ever knew. I'm not saying no one ever used it, but it wasn't something that we used. With the money changed over when I was very young. So the metric system. When did money system change? When did the money system change? 1970s. It might have been before 1970s, to be fair. 15th of February 1971, the people of Britain woke up to a new system of currency. So, blimey, so it was during my lifetime. For centuries, Britain had used pounds, shillings and pence. 12 pence made 1 shilling. That's just confusing. 12 pence made 1 shilling, and 20 shillings was equivalent to £1, which meant there was 240 pence in £1. So, and then I think they call it decimalised it. So they changed it. So now there's basically, it's kind of very similar to America, I think. You get 100 cents to a dollar. Is that correct? We have 100 pennies to £1. 100 pennies to £1. So here's the different coins we have. Although I think the mints, they've stopped making 1 pences and 2 pences, but I think they're still legal tender. So you got 1 pence, 1 penny coin, which is like a rusty, dirty coloured thing. It looks like it just looks like it's been in someone's coffee. It's, you know, it's just, or just been left in an ashtray or something. Just really filthy. A 2 pence coin, which is a bigger, like a lot bigger than that. There used to be a halfpenny coin when I was a kid, but they got rid of that. Then there's a 5 pence piece, which is a lot smaller now than it used to be. When I say smaller, it's still just the same currency, but they used to be quite big, but now they're little. So you've got a 5 pence piece, you've got a 10 pence piece, there's a 20 pence piece, which was introduced in, when was that introduced? 20 pence introduced. The 20 pence was introduced in 1982. So there was no 20 pence before, but that was, and that's kind of like got quite a few different sides to it. Before that, it's got even more. It's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. The next coin above that is the 50 pence piece, which has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, so the 20 pence piece has got 7 sides. The 50 pence piece has got 7 sides. So it's kind of angled, you know. But the 50 pence piece is a lot bigger than a 20 pence piece. 20 pence piece, I think, is about the same kind of size as a 5 pence piece, I do believe. Maybe a little bit bigger. I say this because I hardly ever see cash. I don't have any cash. Haven't seen. The only time I have cash is if, well, I have cash if I get change, and because most of what I ever order is online delivered, so I don't really see any cash anymore. The 20 pence piece was introduced then. So a 50 pence piece. We used to have a pound note. So that was the first note currency. This is when I was like, you know, growing up, sort of 9, 8, 9, 10, whatever. I remember this. 7. I didn't have a lot to do with money, I think, when I was younger than that. So I had the pound note. So the pound note was around. So the pound note was discontinued in 1988. Okay, so the pound note was discontinued in 1988, and it'd been around since 1797. So it's withdrawn from in 1988 due to inflation, as it was replaced by a coin. So when did £1 coin? When did £1 coin start come into circulation? Okay, 1983. So I thought this was true because I was thinking, wait a minute, it was around long before they got rid of the £1 note. So for quite a long time, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So for 5 years, the pound coin, the new pound coin, which was released in 1983, and the pound note were both in circulation at the same time. So they were trying to gradually get rid of the pound note, which they did in 1988. However, with the notes, we had £1 notes, £5 notes, £10 notes, £20 notes, and £50 notes. There wasn't a £20 note, I think, when I was growing up. That was a new thing as well, so I'm going to look into that. But we have that now, so we have we don't have the £1 note anymore, so that's gone. So we have a £5 note, £10 note, £20 note, and £50 note. I don't think we have any notes higher than that. I've never seen a higher note than that. So what did happen though, in 15th of June 1998, the £2 coin was released. The £2 coin. So I don't really know why, but that's so. Then the whole like money changed. So in a sense of we had then the 1 penny, the 2 penny, the 5 penny, the 10 penny. We no longer had the half penny. We had the 20 pence. We had the 50 pence, £1 coin, £2 coin. There was never a during my lifetime or during my period, there hasn't been a £2 note. Maybe there used to be in the past. So there's a £1 coin and a £1 note at the same time until the £1 note got taken away, which was, I think I already mentioned that earlier, whenever that was. And then, no, it was 1988, wasn't it? 1988? Yeah. 1998, £2 coin came out, which is a much bigger coin. It's probably the biggest coin out of all of them, I think. Maybe the same size as a 50 pence piece, but it's a different colour. And then the next thing that changed, we got £5. So the next thing would be that when did the £20, when did the £20 coin come into circulation? What? 20 pence? So have I mentioned this? The 20 pence came into circulation in 1982. So there wasn't a 20 pence, so I'm going to look at now the £20 note. So there's been a few changes over the years. The £20 notes were introduced by the Bank of England in 1725. So there's always been a £20 note. I tell you what I'm thinking of is they changed the design. They changed the design. Right. This note replaces our paper £20 notes, which withdraw from circulation after the 30th of September 2022. So the £20 notes. When did £20 notes change design? Because I don't remember there being a £20 note. The new £20 note. Oh, okay. So there's always been a £20 note. I did think there had been. I really didn't think that. A £50 note. Let's have a look. So yeah, it goes up to 50. £50 is the highest note. Is there ever been a £100 note? Is there? The Bank of England first issued a £100 note in approximately 1725. The note was last issued in 1943 and ceased to be legal tender in 1945. There is no Bank of England £100 note currently in circulation. and the Bank of England advises that there are no plans to introduce one in the foreseeable future. Look at this. According to this calculator, the value of £100 in 1727, a few years back, in today's money is around £6,000. So I don't know what the ratio is between a pound and a dollar. So basically your cents is our pence, your dollar is our pound. But then Australia has dollar, what's the Australian dollar? Then Canada has a dollar. So quite a few, I think there's a few countries use the term dollar, but I don't think any other country uses the word pound. I might be wrong. There are nicknames for some of our money. So let's have a look. I know one. £20 a score, which is British slang for money. So I'm just going to go and click on this, see, just out of interest, because there's a lot of Cockney like terms as well that used to be used. Firstly, we use what is the most universal, quid. I suppose quid, that is slang. So if I say, oh, it cost me 30 quid, I say it just naturally without thinking that it's slang, but it is slang. So quid is pounds. Sorry about that. Don't really think about it. Just something I've been learnt. It's just, you know, it's something that a lot of people use. Dosh, that's another word that's used for money. I don't generally use that word because I'm an adult. The term is kind of an old term. I'm going, this is like nothing but pop-ups on this website. I'm looking at foreignlingo.com. Another slightly old-fashioned term, but one which is certainly still used today, is bob. It was referring to, I thought bob was, oh, it's the equivalent to a quid, a few bob. So that's using, it's kind of it's like, oh, it's going to cost a few bob to get that fixed. But it doesn't really mean a certain amount. It's just saying it's going to cost a bit of money. It's going to cost a few quid, going to cost a few pounds. Bread's another slang word that used to be used. I think slang the word's the right word for that. I think of slang words being like a little bit rude, a little bit ooh. Bread. Used to be a TV show called Bread, a comedy. And I used to like watching it when I was a kid. Further, okay, the phrase bread and honey is Cockney rhyming slang for money. I'm all out of bread, man. I can't come tonight. So that's where the bread came from. Okay. And then you've got the term in simplest sense from about 1940s. But there's a much older one called breadwinner, which actually is part of the language now. Never really thought about it as being money, bread and honey, money. Dough, that's another word. Dough meaning money is much more older than bread as a slang term for money. So someone probably thought, dough, what does dough make? It makes bread. But bread doesn't it doesn't rhyme with money. So what can I put on bread that rhymes with money? Honey. He's got so much dough in a bank he'll never tell anyone. What's another one? The earliest, cabbage. Another somewhat common slang term for money in Britain is cabbage. Really? He's got a nice chunk of cabbage sitting in the bank. I've never heard of that. Clam. Clam? Never heard of that as I used as a word. Milk. Milk is another slang term for money used in many parts of Britain. I've never heard money referred to as milk. Nope, never. Frog skins, sorry. Frog skins is another lesser used. Nope, never heard that. Never used anyone. No one's ever come up to me and said, "You got any frog skins? How much frog skins do you make? How much frog skins you got in your bank?" Never gone into a bank and said, "I'd like to draw out some frog skins, please." Moolah. Okay, yeah, moolah, I know that. Paper. Yeah. Scratch. Yeah, it's not something you normally hear. Rhino. Nope. Never ever heard of that. Fiver. So that just means a £5 note. So if you've got a fiver, can you lend me a fiver? Or can you lend me a tenner? £10, £5. Can you lend me a score? That's not a term I would ever normally use, but here's a little bit of information you might want to know. If someone's telling you about some really amazing, some major thing, catastrophe that's happened to them, the house has fallen down and every member of the family's being abducted by aliens, and they've got debts of millions and they don't know what to do and haven't eaten for a year, and they said, "Oh, can you lend me a score?" What they really mean is they want to go and buy drugs. Okay, so that's when that conversation of like huge stuff's happened, and then they end up saying, "Have you got a score I can have?" Basically, so they can score. It's as simple as that, because that's what scoring is, isn't it? So a score, you can say it's got three terminologies: score as in scoring a goal, score as in £20, and score as in paying for some narcotics, illegal. So fiver, tenner, a nicker, N-I-C-K-E-R. I used to hear people from older people from London saying that. Never really knew what it meant. It was basically for a pound, but I didn't. It's like I really need to listen to that word you just said. What did you shout out then? Because I remember it was a proper cockney, and he walked in and said, anyone got a knicker I can borrow? Now, he was a supervisor, and he was constantly moving different people around from different departments. The agency workers, which I was one of them. And we kind of looked round at him, thinking, what did he just say? Because it was very loud in there, and a few of the Africans looked over as well, like, yeah, what did you say? But it was just basically needed a pound on that occasion. In many parts, pony. In many parts of London, you might hear people talking about a pony. It's £25. See, I never knew what a pony was. I knew of the term, I still didn't know what it was until right now. A bullseye is £50. Okay, so because that's worth 50 points in the game, so that's fine. Didn't know that either. A monkey is 500. See, you'll hear this kind of slang in some of the gangster movies and stuff based on like London and that. I still didn't know what a monkey was until right now. 500. Why they can't just say 500? Because the weird thing about it is it's kind of code, but ultimately it's not code if everyone knows what it means. So if everyone around you knows that a monkey equals £500, if you're living in a town where everyone, including the police, the teachers, the parents, the children, everyone, including the florist, everyone knows what a pony means, what a bullseye means, and what a monkey means, then there's no point saying it, is there? Because you're no longer speaking in code, and you might as well just say the real term. Another specific name for a particular amount of money in London is a lady. This refers to £5. Nope, never heard of that. Ever. And you got rhyming slang. Fiver. So you got fiver. You got Lady Godiva because it rhymes with fiver, which is where you get the word lady. So lady is a fiver because it rhymes with Lady Godiva. I never really saw the point in all that, to be honest. I just sometimes through less comedy than the others is in this vein. £15 is referred to as a Commodore. Never heard that before. Never, ever, ever, ever. So readies, that's another one. So just means cash. You got any cash? You got any readies? Basically, you got anything ready now? Any money ready to spend now, so we don't have to go to the bank. And shillings, again, that was long gone before. Shekels, we don't really use the word shekels anymore. And that's it. So yeah, I don't use most of those terms, but I do use pounds, quid, dosh. There's another. Yeah, I don't really. Blag. No, I don't use most of those words. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's just, so you got 50. I don't know if you have $100 notes. So we only go up to £50. So you probably have $50 notes in America. If you're from America, it's not worth the same. So there's the exchange rate is different. I'm not really sure what the exchange rate is, but our money's worth less, I think, in this country. So that's my answer to that. Anne asks me, have you met Molly? How did she become an admin? She pays me about £2,000 a week to be the admin. And no, she doesn't. I've never met her. I don't even know, to be honest. I don't know. She stalked me for a while. No, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. It's such a long time since I know Molly did a video review, I think, back in about 2019. I think, yeah, and I really don't know. Honestly, it's just one of those things that just happened. It just naturally fitted into place, I guess. So that's how Molly ended up being the boss of the group. Just as I said that, Molly's liked my Whisper Wednesday. So I guess because she's on the group a lot, she's always checking out stuff. I know she's got her own stuff going on. But yeah, she's been around a long time. Yeah, that's it really. I don't know. I don't even know if I did I make her an admin, or did she just make herself the admin? I mean, I think she's now in charge of the group. She allowed me to join because I left the group thinking I went through one of my little weird periods, and so I've joined. So I think she's actually in charge of everything. She's in charge of the group now. So she doesn't need me to be in the group. It's weird, isn't it? I don't even need to be in my own group. So yeah, Molly is the boss of this group. She's in charge. So she's in charge of me. She's always bossing me around. And that, I do believe, is all the questions. I don't normally do questions this early in the morning. Vinny's hassling me, he's begging me, so I don't know what he wants. So I just want to say thank you to Hope, Ali, Michelle, Teresa and Anne for your questions. I hope I answered them kind of properly. I hope. So thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself, because you deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.